Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Unbroken Arrows podcast. I'm Greg.
And I'm Catherine. And today we have a special guest, my mother, Stephanie.
Yeah, Stephanie is my name.
I don't know why I said it like that. I was going to say Steph, and then I was like, I don't ever call you Steph.
Nobody calls me Steph.
Yeah.
So. But thank you. I'm excited to be
course.
here.
Today we do have some pretty exciting news.
Yes, we do. And this has been something that's been in the works for 3-4 months at least. We want to announce today the creation of the Unbroken Brave Foundation, a legacy of hope and healing. And this foundation isn't an entirely new foundation, as it is one that is being repurposed. And there's a story behind that. And that's why we have Stephanie here today to share with us the history of how the foundation, what the original foundation was, and how that formed, and like I said, the history behind that. Stephanie.
Yeah. So, as maybe you've heard before, Tony and I had 5 kids, and our fourth one, Rebekah, passed away actually just over 8 years ago. We just celebrated her anniversary this past weekend. But about 2 years and a half, I would say, before she passed away, we were kind of doing things to check things off of her bucket list. And one of the things that we decided to do was a concert. And not to put too many details into all of that or whatever, but anyways, we asked her, we ended up raising about $20,000, and we asked her what she wanted to do with that money. And, actually being, I don't know, she was probably 9 at the time, what she wanted to do with that, we kind of expected her to say, let's go to Walt Disney World, or let's do, something fun with it. She was like, I think we should give it to Make-A-Wish, and kind of blew us all away with her generosity at that age. And we were like, that's awesome, because both her and her older sister, Mesa, who has been on the podcast before, had both received Make-A-Wishes. So obviously the impact of that on their young lives was foundational, and that's what she wanted to do. So we ended up donating that money to Make-A-Wish. She was able to give 2 kids a wish, and we got to meet those kids, and it was really special. And then we actually had that same artist come back the following year, and the concert was already planned, and it ended up being after Rebekah passed away. So what we decided to do with the funds that we raised that year was start Rebekah's Legacy Foundation. And that foundation was intended to support families that had children with extended, prolonged illnesses and medical expenses. So the history of Rebekah's Legacy Foundation, we probably donated over $30,000 to families that had kind of had experiences like we did. And one thing that we found out throughout this experience of our own having sick kids was, people are very generous, and we were blessed abundantly. But being in a larger town, you don't typically have like GoFundMes and, big fundraisers and stuff. The people that come from smaller towns, a lot of times the town will rally around them and do big fundraisers and stuff. So the people that we ended up supporting were probably from larger towns that didn't have that same, support around them financially.
And Stephanie, if I can ask, and from the stories that I've heard of the early stages of Rebekah's legacy and so forth, and learning more about Tony as time goes on, Tony was sometimes a larger-than-life personality with regard to having that drive and ambition.
Absolutely.
To be the person that would organize the fundraisers and things like that and make those connections.
For sure. Like we always said that he was the face out there. He was the one that had the big grandiose ideas of the ways that we would fundraise and make the money. And then I was the detail person, making sure people were there, making sure everybody had the right T-shirts and all of the details. And so that absolutely, this was his baby, I would say, or his idea of making it happen.
I don't know if anyone has like been part of nonprofits before, but a lot of it is asking people for money, which is super awkward. And Dad was just so good at it that I swear people were just like handing him dollar bills all the time. It's like he didn't even have to say anything, and they're like, "Oh, here's a $20 bill." Like, this is so crazy.
And that's how people that are very successful in that line of work in terms of fundraising and helping foundations move forward, they just have that natural ability to do that. And I think Tony was one of those people, and he had that ability to connect with people.
One of the things that Tony was very good at too is well, he loved children. Like, he was the best father, and he could make any child feel special. And so we also wanted to give kids and families the opportunity to just have like a night out to not think about things. And so we partnered with the hospitals, and the child life people at the hospitals helped kind of spread this word. But there was a night out at the Canaries, and that wasn't a fundraiser, so to speak. I think they did end up like announcing, that we were there, and if you wanted to, partner with us and stuff like that. I do think we took in some funds, but it was mostly for us to give back and for us to treat the children and their families special that night. Because one of the things that we realized as our kids were growing up in having medically fragile siblings was that they often didn't get to do things that, a normal family would do because we were afraid of germs, or we just couldn't because we were in the hospital or whatever. And so we took the children that were in the hospital that could, or recently in the hospital, and their families to a night out at the Canaries. And that was just awesome. All of our kids were there, and we were able to really dote on these kids and their families for a night.
And as people that have listened to our podcast from the beginning, they know a little bit about our family's stories, both the Spader family and the Pavlik family. But in January of 2021, Tony died by suicide. At that point in time, the foundation, Rebekah's Legacy, lost probably its biggest cheerleader. How did that affect and impact Rebekah's Legacy Foundation?
Well, it was obviously a huge problem. We met as a board several times, like, are we going to continue with this? How are we going to continue with this? When you have the larger than life person that, is the forefront, the runner, the person that has the ideas, the person that has the magnetic personality, out as the face of Rebekah's Legacy Foundation, like, how are we going to function with this? And we actually decided to bring all of the kids in to a board meeting. The kids were, young adults, but, they don't really have their feet on the ground yet, kind of still trying to find their own place. And so we had the conversation, like, if we're going to continue this, like, this has to involve you guys. And what is your commitment? And if I remember correctly, Catherine, you were like, I'm all in, but I don't want to do it alone. Mm-hmm. And AJ very much was like, I would like to, but I just am not Dad. Like, I don't have that same personality, same vision, same whatever, which I kind of disagree with. He's definitely got a lot of his.
He's a people person.
He is definitely a people person, but it's still hard. It's a big commitment at that age. So it was kind of decided at that point. We gave him a little bit of time to think about it and stuff, but within a couple months, we had decided that we were basically going to dissolve the foundation.
And that took place, and I remember that meeting, and I remember that discussion, and it was probably close to a year after that. In December of this last year, so that'd be 23. I approached Catherine about starting a podcast, and we decided to call that Unbroken Arrows, Healing Through the Hunt. And we were fortunate enough that one of our first guests that we interviewed was a gentleman by the name of Bob St. Pierre, who works for Pheasants Forever. And through some communication with him and him pointing us toward another individual at Pheasants Forever, Catherine and I had the opportunity then to actually have a booth at Pheasant Fest, which was in Sioux Falls this last March. And during that time, we really had the opportunity to talk with and meet with a lot of people, and we received a lot of positive feedback with regard to what we were doing and why we were doing it. I think you would agree, Catherine. One part of it's a little bit selfish because we're the ones healing too as we do the podcast and through the conversations that we have. We also want to help others share their experiences of how the outdoors, hunting and fishing and hiking and all the things that go along with that are healing for them as well. And serendipity, I can't remember if it was that actual weekend or if it was shortly after that, there was a bank statement for Rebekah's Legacy Foundation sitting on the kitchen counter. And just as I was walking by, I noticed it. I remembered from the previous year them talking about the possibility of dissolving that foundation. And then the wheels started to turn in my head. My thought was that life has changed considerably for Stephanie's family, her children. Rebekah's legacy was based on Rebekah's death and her generosity that she showed in life in a way to continue to move forward and to help others. Well, Tony's death, and in my life, Holly's death, the family, we've kind of adopted that blended and blessed mantra. But bottom line, the wheels started turning in my head, and it's like, maybe this Unbroken Arrows podcast could be the platform or a way to rejuvenate the foundation. And I just made the suggestion to Stephanie in terms of, what do you think? What if we did this? And then she took the ball and talked to the kids, and at that time the current foundation board members, and it was well received. So Stephanie, talk just a little bit about how that process took place with regard to how maybe yours and our first conversation to where you're at now with regard to now the Unbroken and Brave Foundation.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when you mentioned the idea to me, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome, And when I took it to the board, the current board, Mark Spader, who was on the original board and still is on the board, he was like, he's like, we kept talking about dissolving it, and I just kind of kept dragging my feet and just really ultimately, I don't think it's what any of us wanted, but we didn't know how to go forward. So this was such a blessing that we maybe drug our feet, prolonged it long enough for Greg to have the brainchild to repurpose it and to bring it together. I think it's really a beautiful thing, the whole blended and blessed. My children are mostly in Sioux Falls. Greg's children are all over the place. It's blended in a real crazy fashion. It's blended because we're married, but everybody's all over. But the fact is that we all are on this journey of healing, and we all want to be generous. And so how can we take our experiences and bless others?
One of the things that impressed me was when you spoke to your kids about it. And when I proposed this to you, I thought that the board needed to have one of your kids at least and as members of the board. And, Catherine offered to do that. And AJ was not necessarily interested in being a board member, but over that last couple of years, he wanted to be part of it. He wanted to be able to do those things that he could do to help the foundation move forward. Mm-hmm. And, all in all, I think that's something that's very important, to be able to honor Rebekah as the original purpose, but then also honor Tony and Holly as part of a legacy that we will be able to move forward with is something that I hope is special to you and your family, Stephanie, but I know that it's special to me and ours.
Absolutely. And I think the other idea that we had, it would be really awesome if we were able to incorporate your family somehow and your life in the board somehow. And so we now have Holly's sister, and then also a wonderful friend of Greg's, David. And so we have a beautiful mixture now of Spaders and Pavliks and both sides of the family and friends that are coming together to really push this forward.
It's funny now being on the board, because I remember when it was still Rebekah's Legacy Foundation being like banished to the basement when they would have their board meetings. It was like, don't come upstairs. Like, if you need food, just wait. Like, go rummage in the pantry downstairs. Like, don't go to the bathroom. Like,
I don't know if this is normal.
Don't come upstairs. Just banished to the basement. Go watch TV.
I don't know if this is normal, but does every child have a totally wonky
different
perspective of like how things actually happened?
That's
because
definitely what
we
happened.
definitely had our board meetings at our house because it was a good common ground or neutral area for everybody to come. But I don't think that's actually what happened.
We're totally... Usually you guys at least fed us dinner before, but it was like, don't come upstairs. Like,
there's not even a restroom in that basement. I don't really think
no,
it was
we
that
could
bad.
go to the bathroom that was on the north side of the house.
Oh.
That's like right up the stairs. Because then...
It wasn't like a live production or something.
No,
Catherine.
I swear it was like you would walk into the kitchen to get a glass of water and it was just silent and eyes would follow you. They'd be like, why are you upstairs?
Well, I think to
what
kind
is
of
this
take
gremlin?
this conversation, to its point, I think is what you're saying is...
You've grown up, Catherine, and now you're welcome to be part of it.
I'm still banished to the basement frequently.
I think it's when you have a situation that people are comfortable with regard to input and relaxing. I know that I'm not a member of the board, but I've been asked to sit in a couple of different times just to provide my input or thoughts. And I think it's a team has been assembled on the board that I think does have the opportunity to really guide the Unbroken and Brave Foundation in a very positive direction.
Absolutely. So
I guess to kind of bring this all together now, Rebekah's siblings, AJ, Catherine, Mesa, and Teresa are all older and maybe have the ability to help in ways that they wouldn't have been able to a few years ago. As I mentioned before, it's going to be a way to continue to honor Rebekah, but also Tony and Holly in the future. And with the creation of the Unbroken Arrows podcast, I think that that's the platform that we can use to promote the foundation. As we move forward, we want to support families and children that are in need of financial support as a result of the treatment of their disease. Families and children that have lost a parent as a result of disease, directly mental health issues and Tony's death by suicide. So mental health is something that we want to be able to put in the forefront, make sure people understand it's important and to get treatment and to use the resources that are available. Holly died as a result of ovarian cancer, so diseases such as cancer would be, part of what that mission would be. We also want to support families that are struggling with those types of things, whether it's disease or mental health is a disease. So to help those families and individuals that are struggling in those areas. One thing that we haven't talked about that we really realized at Pheasant Fest was the number of organizations that are out there that are designed to support our veterans, both our active military and our veterans. And that's something that, based upon our family's history on both sides, Spaders and Pavliks, we want to support. That's something that we quickly realized that we can buy into that, and we want to be able to help veterans and active military as well. And then organizations, we want to support the organizations that support any of those things that I just mentioned. We want to be able to support others in a way that they can better support those in need. So we want to help those that are in need of healing find a way to use the outdoors to help them in their healing process, because that's been such an important part of our family's healing.
Yeah, so I mean, with it not just being a repurpose, but really an expansion of the foundation, so that we can cover all of the things that encompass us being a blended family and that have touched our lives.
Exactly.
And I think, I don't know if you really hit on it too much, but a lot of what we're trying to do too is like bring the healing that we've gotten through the outdoors and bring that to other people as well. So it's not like we're just giving money out all the time, but part of it too is going to be
giving them the experience,
that outdoor therapy, whether that's hunting, fishing, hiking, all of those things, but that as well.
Right. And even though that we haven't really talked about some of the possible fundraising opportunities and things like that, I think that we also have the ability then to intertwine those types of activities into the fundraising to help people get those experiences, in a more relaxed or a setting that they can try things out in a manner that is non-threatening, and give them those experiences. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously we're a existing foundation that got repurposed, but we're kind of starting over, So we'll share our website with everyone. But if you want to volunteer, if you want to donate, if you have fundraising ideas that, something that you're familiar with or can offer, I mean, we're open to all of it at this point.
One of the things that I'd like to point out with regard to the foundation is that the board members are volunteer positions, and there are some operational costs that go into a foundation, but these costs are minimal, and of course we will report those as time goes by, but any donation that somebody would choose to give is going to be primarily given back to those that are in need of assistance in some way, shape, or form. And I know that that's one of the things that Catherine, you talked about how it was so easy for your dad to be able to ask people for money. It's, that's not something that is in my wheelhouse. I think it's kind of a tough thing because in my mind to do. And but the thing is, it's a lot easier when you really believe in what it is that you're doing and really seeing how you can help others that maybe don't have those resources. So
well, and I can say from personal experience, when I was able to walk into a family's home with a check and maybe some gifts for the kids and stuff like that as a donation, that experience itself is life-changing. So it just thrills me to think of like how much more we're going to be able to do that and how we're going to be able to continue doing that in a different fashion and to a whole lot more people because of the rebranding, so to speak, of this foundation.
Well, and Catherine, one of the things that the board has charged you with is to work toward setting up a website that would be active in in being able to accept donations. What kind of information can you share with our listeners about that?
Yeah, so first off, the website is going to be just www.unbrokenandbravefoundation.org. And in there, you can just read a little bit more about us. Obviously, this podcast is a little bit more in depth of what's going to be on the website, but you can get an overview there. You can actually see and read about all of the board members. And then also you are able to donate directly on the website. So you can go in, and however generous you are feeling, everything matters, everything counts. It's all going to go towards a good purpose. So you are able to do that directly in the website as well. But as Mom said, there is going to be some contact information for the foundation. And if you want to donate your time or your talents, we would absolutely take that as well.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I want to point out is that there may be people that are listening that already have events that would want people to or give the people opportunities to maybe get their name out there, events in which they would invite other nonprofit organizations to their event just for awareness purposes. And if that's a situation that may be for somebody that's listening and they want to assist us in that manner, we would definitely be able or want to have that conversation to see how we could use that to partner with other organizations as well.
And maybe this was said way at the beginning, and I know that Catherine just gave the website, but the Unbroken Arrows Healing Through the Hunt podcast is the podcast, and then the new foundation is Unbroken and Brave Foundation. Mm-hmm. So they're closely related, and we wanted there to be a tie because there is a tie, right?
Right.
But I think it's important to just talk
Delineate
about those
between the two.
Yeah, exactly.
That they are two separate things, even though they are going to be related. That being said, on the Unbroken Arrows podcast.com website, there also will be some information and a link that takes you to the foundation as well.
And for those that want to reach out to us, then we would invite them to reach out to us on the foundation page first. But if for some reason they can't find that or whatever, we also have the contact us option on our Unbroken Arrows podcast website. And we would definitely forward that to the powers that be with regard to the foundation. So,
well, this is super exciting. I'm grateful to be here today, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to share a little bit about the history. And we just really look forward to where this foundation is going to take us from here.
Yeah, well, thank you, Stephanie,
Amen.
for sharing that, and Catherine for volunteering to be part of the reorganization process of the board. I think that
I think the biggest thank you needs to go to you, Greg, and I know you really hate public accolades, but we wouldn't be here today had you not had the idea to repurpose this and give us the new insight, the new idea to move forward. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome for that. Those are very kind words to share, but the bottom line is that, the old saying is it takes a community to raise a child. Well, it's going to take a lot of people that are going to help us try to realize this dream of helping others. So thank you for saying that, but it's a team effort. And here, Catherine, let the eyes start to glaze over. Here's a science a statement that comes from science analogy. Science doesn't happen in a vacuum, and that just means that one of the things that has been always so impressive to me with regard to just research in general and education is that regardless of political ideas and regardless of religious ideas and all those different things that can split people apart, the science community really, really communicates well. Things don't happen in a vacuum. That just means that you can't do everything by yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think it's so very important for us to recognize that Sometimes people are going to be asked within our structure or our organization to do things that sometimes are going to be tough, time constraints and those types of commitments. But we'll do it together. Mm-hmm. We'll do it together.
With that being said, any last thoughts or comments?
So as I said before, if anyone that's listening is willing to give, regardless if that's time, their talent, their treasure, all of it is going to be encouraged and appreciated. And it's how we're going to move forward from here. And so however you can give, just make sure you visit unbrokenandbravefoundation.org and either contact us. I think it's my phone number that's on there. So give me a call. Or there's going to be a give, donate button right there.
Yes.
There. So
it's nice, big and blue.
There you go. Thank you. And just want you to know that we appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. We are super excited to start this. And I hope everyone is as excited as we are. Thank you, guys.
Well said, ladies. Well said. Our immediate family has experienced cancer-related deaths as a result of leukemia, prostate, and ovarian cancer. It'd be safe to say that every one of us has had our lives impacted by cancer in some way. A healthy diet, which can include wild game and fish, and exercise through outdoor activities, has the potential to improve a person's physical and mental health. At any age, if you are active, stay active. If you're not as active as you would like to be, it is not too late to start now as a way to improve your physical and mental health. And if you or anyone else that you know is thinking of suicide or is in need of crisis intervention, call the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by dialing 988. So to all of our listeners, take some time to get outside, enjoy the outdoors, and experience its healing powers. With that, on behalf of Catherine and me, and Stephanie too, until next time.